Am I doing it?
Let me check.
Watch and see, yeah, because I don't know. This is my first time doing this, so tell me if you see it.
No, nothing has popped up. Maybe take a moment. Hold on, I can.
How do you change the privacy from unlisted?
Let me see.
Wait, does it need to be unlisted?
Unlisted means only people with the link can see it. You want it public.
Well, how do I do that?
Maybe customization. Just like.
Anyone?
Just keep scroll. Cause the other try details. Oh, can you scroll when you go to details? Like,
Oh, yeah, I can.
alright. Let's see. I some of these are like,
English.
these are like filled in the tags from.
Oh, they just pull it from my. Do any of the following describe your content? No. No.
Make.
No, it's not made for kids. Playlist, thumbnail, category, entertainment. Here. Visibility, public. Oh, it's my sweet, sweet kitty. Am I doing it now? All right, let me know. Who's a sweet, sweet kitty?
Oh, Mojo is live.
Yay! All right. Welcome. So I'm not gonna pretend that I'm here alone. I cannot see the chat. I did not know in advance how this would work because I've never done it before. So I didn't know that I needed to charge my phone and prop it up in some meaningful ways so that I could read the chat. So I have a pal, a streaming buddy who is going to read the chat to me should anyone appear and chat with me.
Yes, hello. I'm here
Thank you for
to
your
read your chat for you.
thank you for your assistance. So I haven't released a video in a couple of weeks for a myriad of reasons. The main one being I have been writing a different project for something else, one that actually pays money. So my attention has been focused on that, and I've had less free time because I still have a full-time job and I still have my cancer treatments that I go to and my CT scans and my doctor's appointments and my blood tests and all of that stuff. So I have not had the time to sit down and write a new WaryTales. And I've been thinking about for a while. I had written The Alchemist and the Twins, and this was probably 2 years ago. And at that time, it was just a rough draft. I had sat down and I had just written 8 little quick pages, not a lot of words. I mean, I think it was 9 or 10 minutes worth of story, not a lot. And it was just a rough draft, just an idea I had. And back then, I was putting a story on my channel every single week. And I wanted to keep that momentum going, but I was having surgery. And so I didn't have time to write something new. So I pulled up that draft, I recorded the audio for it, and I made a short video just so I would have something to put out that week. And it became my most popular story. And it was just a short little rough draft. And I always wanted to make it a more robust story. And I always intended for it to be a series where the twins would use their wealth, convert their wealth into power, and become queens and rule together. And the conflict that that would create, having dual rulers, sisters, twins, and powerful witches in their own right. So I always intended to do that. And then it just came to me, like, while I'm writing it, why don't I just stream that? And then we could write together. People can see what I'm writing. I can explain what I'm writing. And then when the story is done, I can put it on WaryTales, at least the first couple of episodes, because I intend for this to be like a long series. I could put the first couple of episodes at least on WaryTales and then, put it all together and kind of publish it as a book or two or three or whatever. So that is the plan so that I'm not neglecting my channel and not putting anything on there. So the story of The Alchemist and the Twins, if you don't remember, or even if you do, um, there's a sorceress and her name is Rosamund. And I had this idea that she is sort of a lonely woman from really humble beginnings. She was raised by a single mother who, was basically nothing because she couldn't make a living without a man, back in the day. And so she had to, clean houses and do laundry and mend clothing and do all of the tasks that other people either didn't want to do or could afford to pay someone else to do. And she did that to put a roof over her daughter's head. And I think she spoiled her a bit, maybe gave her more than she actually needed because she felt bad about her life situation and not being able to provide for her daughter. So she might have gone a little too far. And so you've got this Rosa Moon who grew up poor and she felt lesser than other people because she didn't have as much as they did. And I think she had some resentment toward her mother because even though her mother worked really hard and gave her what she could, it wasn't what she wanted. Yes, you gave me the best that you could, but I wanted more. I wanted what other people had. And because she grew up with that feeling of inferiority, she craved power. She craved wealth. She had that hole inside of her that she thought material things could fill. So she decided that she was going to figure out the secret to alchemy, right? And alchemy is something that people have been interested in for a really long time. Taking something taking something worthless like lead and turning it into gold. Although in Rosa Moon's case, she wanted to take ordinary objects, not just not just lead, but literally anything, and transform it into gold. And she believed that if she became powerful enough, there would be a way. And eventually, after years of studying, she realized what the secret was, and she couldn't tap into it. I don't wanna ruin it, but I've already, like, written it, it's already on my channel, so I might as well just put it out there, but it's her own blood. So, she is born with this rare condition, and that rare condition manifests itself physically. Now, originally, I was gonna have the twins be albino, like, um, pale skin, pale hair, pale eyes, um but at the time, I didn't realize that that was sort of an offensive thing and that albino, people with albinism were thought to be magical and that, like, children were kidnapped and, like, killed for their limbs and things, and I didn't wanna perpetuate that stereotype, so I've moved away from that because it was a poor choice in the beginning, and I've decided to still have them be unusual in appearance, but not in that way. Instead of pale skin, I've said they have sort of gray skin, silver hair, and then like lavender, like blue, lavender eyes. Very unusual and very rare, right? None of us have ever seen a person like that. And it would be the same in Rosamunde's case, where she's the only one like her that she's ever seen. And it is those beings with that condition who have the blood running through their veins that is the secret ingredient to alchemy. And she can't drain her own blood because the spell literally says that the blood has to be warm and it has to be in such a volume that, like, she'd have to, you know, bleed out an inordinate amount, which would end her life. So she would not then be able to use her own blood. So her only hope of being an alchemist, of achieving her dreams, is to find somebody with the same condition as her. And in all of her years, she's never done it until this one day at the market when she sees the twins. There they are. There's two of them. They have the condition. She's overjoyed. She kidnaps them. She takes them back to her house. And she wasn't planning on doing an alchemy spell. So she realizes, I don't have the ingredients. I wasn't planning on doing this today. I had given up hope. I didn't think this dream would ever happen for me. I am ill prepared. And so, what do I do now? So, she decides that she's going to put the twins into a deep sleep and she's going to magically enhance her cottage so that they cannot escape. And then, just in case they do wake up, she enchants a tree, like a house plant, like one of those tall house plants, to grow fruit so that they can eat. And she heads out, only intending to be gone for a couple of days just to grab these couple of ingredients. But it turns out to be much, much harder to gather these ingredients than she expected. And she's actually gone for months. When she comes back to the cottage, she is scared that the twins have passed and that she's missed her chance. She unenchants her cottage. She slips inside and they're still asleep on the bed. And she is so relieved. Woohoo, they're there. I'm going to get my dream. And she starts preparing the spell. And then one of the twins comes up behind her, cuts her throat, drains her blood, and uses that to perform the spell. And the twins then turn everything in Rosamunde's cottage to gold, including Rosamunde herself, even her cat. And they are now the only women in the country with the world, with the secret to alchemy. It makes them incredibly wealthy, and they use their gold to purchase an army, build an army, take the throne by force, and they become queens. And so that's the story. While they were in the cottage, they woke early, like literally a day or two, and they had months in the cottage, and they already had a background of witchcraft from their mother, which of course Rosamund wouldn't have known. That they were already, their mother knew. She like kept them locked away and hidden away. If they did go outside, she had them tie scarves around their heads and, not look anybody directly in the eyes. And she was trying to sort of hide who her children were, for obvious reasons. But she also knew that one day they might be targeted. And so she prepared them. Of course, there's no way Rosamund would have known this. So they wake up early and they rummage around the cottage. They find her magic books. They know what she's up to. They figure out the magic. And when she comes home, they ambush her and use her blood to complete the spell. So she had been walking around with the secret to alchemy running through her veins her entire life. And that is also her undoing. So that is how it starts. And that's what I'm trying to write now. I'm taking that story and kind of turning it into a chapter one in a more robust and interesting way. Because, like I said, it was just a very short, rough draft of a story. It was just kind of 8 little pages scribbled down. So I thought, okay, I'm going to call it The Alchemist Queens instead of The Alchemist and the Twins, because the twins are the queens and they are the alchemists. They know the secret, right? So I'm creating this world and I'm creating this dark sort of land where people have magic, people practice magic, and of course, there's dark magic and there's light magic, but this is like a world where people fear them and respect them, but they've also accumulated so much wealth that they have this incredibly large army. And, when you're wealthy, people do want to be on your good side. And when you have a lot of power, like these queens have, people want to take advantage of your power, have you as an ally. And so they've cultivated those relationships. But ruling in tandem, two very different personalities, even though they're twins, one softer, one harder, though neither is completely passive, right? So that's what I'm exploring. And so I wrote this intro. So I had this idea um, because I feel like one of my favorite sayings is a man can find his destiny on the road he took to avoid it, right? By trying to avoid something, you actually end up making it happen. And I really like that theme, and I really like to play around with destiny and fate and things happening sort of against your will, fate sort of conspiring against you. And so I went and I I looked up what people have said about destiny. And so I built that into my intro here. And so this is how much I've written so far. And we're just going to build from here. I'm probably just going to write, I don't know, a couple of pages just to get something down. I don't want this video to be too terribly long, but I thought this would be good. I belong to some writing groups and I give some writing advice, and people ask the same questions like over and over and over again, and one of the things is like about the thought process and how to build the story. And so I thought, okay, I'll walk through my writing process and what I'm thinking as I'm writing, and maybe that will help other people, and then maybe give my audience like a way to get to know me a little bit more as well. So I'm going to read you this intro, and then we're just going to start building the story, keeping in mind that what I just told you about the alchemist and the twins is what we're trying to accomplish with chapter one. So this is, like I said, the alchemist queens. Philosophers say fate leads the willing and drags along the reluctant. The dreamers insist the universe conspires to help us reach our purpose. Maybe destiny is neither force nor kindness, but a whisper that waits for the right moment to be heard. You may ignore it, resist it, even curse it under your breath, but destiny can find you when you least expect it. The day began as ordinary days do. There was nothing remarkable about the sunrise. The fall air held the regular amount of crispness. Breakfast was the usual trunk of dry bread and a boiled egg. That's the problem with routine days. They create the illusion that all days will be predictable and familiar. So when something extraordinary happens, it takes you completely by surprise. So, what I'm going for here, right, is my style is fairy tales, and I really like for this particular Wary Tales, not for Reginald or some of my other things, but for this series, I really want sort of an omniscient Mother Goose fairy tale, Mojo, the Twisted Fairy, right? That knows this story, and I'm recounting it to you. So I really wanted to build in this narrator element, and I think it works when you have to do head hopping, because in a normal story, you pick a main character and you write everything from their point of view. You can't say what Henry or Marge or Kim or Harry are thinking or feeling. you can only say what your main character is thinking, observing, feeling, right? But if you head hop and you have sort of an omniscient narrator, you can delve into how other people are feeling, what they're thinking, what they're strategizing. And because I'm going to make this such a long series and because my intention is to have so many characters, it felt for me like the right choice. So the next thing I did was pick names for the twins. So we know that they're, you know, unusually looking. They have, like I said, a gray tint to their skin, a lavender tint to their eyes, long silver hair. One of them's got like short curly silver hair. The other one wears hers long and straight, but it's silver, like platinum, right? Which is unusual for children, um, for people who are young, right? So that is how they appear. You've got one who's neither one is going to be nice per se. Neither one is going to be perfectly moral per se. But from an audience perspective, there's going to be a personality difference where one is maybe more self serving, um, a little more cutthroat, a little bit more willing to blur some moral boundaries to achieve her goals, let's say. And then the other sister, while she also understands that they need to keep the power and that they need to do some things that are maybe morally dubious, she's not as willing to cross as many lines as her sister. So there's sort of a nice one and a mean one in a way. So I wanted their names to reflect that. And I need their names to be different so that you can tell the different. I can't have it be like, you know, Betty and Seti, right? It needs to be distinct, and their names need to like convey their personalities. So I came up with Sybil for the more stern sister, the less morally, the more corruptible one, and then for the other sister, for the one that's a little bit nicer, so to speak, I came up with a Laureen. Laureen and Sybil sound very different. And to me, Laureen just sounds nicer, sweeter, kinder, and Sybil just sounds harder. So those are the names, Laureen and Sybil. And I need from this is just what I'm thinking as I'm sitting here, like, what do I write next? I need to convey their personalities without saying Sybil was the meaner sister, right? That's too literal. You want to convey who people are in their actions, in their words. So in this particular case, this has to be an extraordinary day. When you start a story, it starts on an extraordinary day, right? Yesterday was a normal day. The day before was normal, right? Those days were all routine. But today, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever day it is today, something happens to the main character and everything changes, right? So for this one, we know that they're going to the market. Why would they go to the market? Well, the only reason they would go to the market is if their mother isn't home, right? We already know from what I told you that these aren't girls who just walk around in public. The mother is hiding them because they are unique and she knows it. So they tie scarves around their heads, they put on big woolen coats, they hide their appearance as much as possible. They stay in the cottage as much as possible, and mom is the one who goes to the market. Well, maybe mom had a death in the family, and she says, "Okay, girls, you stay home. I'll be home in a week." Mom leaves, girls are home alone. They know mom is coming home and they've run out of things. They need flour, they need chicken, they need whatever you get from the market, fruits. They don't intend to be gone long. And they take their precautions, tie up their hair, yada yada. But of course, it's not enough, right? So I need the girls to go to the market and I need to kind of show what their routine life is on a day-to-day basis, right? So I want to show the dynamic between these two. And I want to, all right. So what I'm trying to convey right off the bat, because when I'm writing, I'm imagining that I'm this character. I'm imagining that I'm Laureen and my mother is at the market and I'm the more responsible, level-headed twin, right? What would be going on in my world? And this is how I'm picturing it. I'm picturing that Laureen is ready to go. She's eaten her breakfast, she's dressed, she's got her hair pulled back, she's tying the scarf around her head, and I'm picturing that her sister is still in bed. And I want to create that dynamic and I want to show that dynamic with their usual interaction. I want to show how these two girls interact normally on a regular basis. And this is what I'm thinking. If this is me, I'm putting on my coat, I'm tying my scarf, and I'm like, where is Sybil? Where the heck is my sister? Right? As a person IRL who has a sister, it can be frustrating having a sibling, right?
Oh, oh, wait,
Yeah.
hello. I real quick. I didn't want to interrupt because you were on a roll, but
Oh, I'm
you have
sorry.
one.
Don't interrupt me. I'm
No, no, you were doing great. No, loved hearing your thought process. But no, you have a chat participant.
hello, chat participants.
I say so two things. Alchemy was recently done in real life. It requires a particle collider and can only be done one molecule at a time. So, studio expensive, but people are still fascinated by the idea. And names are hard.
No, no, it is still a very fascinating concept, right? I mean, I mean, gold is one of those things that has retained value even to this day. It is a very valuable substance. A lot of people invest in gold even as we speak, right? If you could just like touch this coffee cup and just turn it into gold and then go sell it. I mean, are you kidding me? It would be amazing. Now, I don't know about a particle thingy. I don't think I could make one of those. I can barely work a toaster. I am not a mechanically inclined person. I didn't even charge my phone. Um, but I think it's really cool that people are still fascinated by the concept. And it is interesting because he who has the gold has the power. You're not just creating wealth, you are taking that wealth and translating it into power. And people have been doing this for centuries. The wealthier you are, the more influence you have, the more allegiance you can buy, the more muscle you can buy, the more things you can buy, the more image you can create. People with wealth have more influence. So having that gold gives you more than just the ability to buy things. It gives you the ability to become, like a deity in a way, right? And that's the whole idea. So I think that's really cool. Thank you for the chatter. I'm just thinking of how to phrase it. So with Mother Away, So, what I'm trying to convey here, hopefully people get it, right? She's ready. She's at the door. She's getting dressed. She's ready to go. She's expecting her sister to be there. Where is she? Mom's away. We have to go. I can't do it by myself, and I'm trying to create the frustration. I also want to show the dynamic between these two because it is very much a love-hate relationship with these two twins. They're sisters, they support each other, they love each other, but they want to wring each other's necks at times, right? A very normal sibling relationship for anybody out there who has siblings, you understand. And again, thank you for reading the chat. I appreciate it.
No problem.
So what I'm thinking here is if these girls are poor, and they're being raised by just their mother, and their mother doesn't have a lot of income, very similar to Rosa Moon, right? Um, this cottage probably wouldn't have a separate bedroom. And I'm thinking of this place where I went years ago, and they had these really small one-room cabins, and the way that they kind of split off rooms was by like hanging um, twine and then hanging fabric over it, and that just kind of using like a quilt or a blanket to separate off a space, and then that was your room. And that's what I'm envisioning for this bedroom for these twins in this cottage. This is just a rough draft too, so I can always. Right, but what I'm trying to get at there, right, is that it had always been this way. Like, this is all they've ever known, is this little separated corner from a cabin. This is their little space, and it had been their entire life because obviously they're twins, right? So I'm just thinking, like, what would be the most frustrating thing my sister could say to me in that moment? And it would be something like, "I'm not going," or "Go without me," or "Have fun at the market." It would be something like that where I would be like, "Are you kidding me? You are getting out of bed and you are coming," and there is no, like, argument, right? But I really wanna show that there's sort of a power dynamic here where Sybil really does think that she's in charge, that she calls the shots, that she's sort of the she might be older by, like, a minute and a half or 2 minutes or whatever, because 'cause they're twins, but because she was the firstborn, she considers herself maybe more mature, maybe more of an authority, maybe the one in charge, that kind of thing. So, I think she, um, maybe jerks her sister around a little bit, but of course, Laureen isn't having it. This is what I would do. I would roll my eyes and Right. This is me putting myself into this story and thinking what this would be like with my IRL, very frustrating sister that I currently have. And this is what I'd be like, I should have known. What was I expecting? Right?
I love that you're channeling your sister. Also, your chat participant. Personal assistants are underrated. And the writing process is cool. I don't think many people know how much goes into it.
I mean, it could be that I overthink, right? I am a slow writer, but for me, it's because I'm thinking of so many different things at once. And I'm always trying to be aware of what does the reader know? What does the reader need to know? Right? I don't want to skip any important information. I don't want there to be any gaps. I don't want there to be any confusion. And I'm trying to like paint a picture with words, right? So that's what I do. And this is why I'm such a slow writer. This is why it takes me like a whole week to write a short story, is because I'm like, I sit there and I picture this in my mind. This is like my thought process. And I don't know if this helps anybody, but it might if you're a writer and you're watching this and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm the same way." I'm constantly like carefully choosing my words, like what should happen next? What should happen next? What should happen next? You're not alone. I talk to myself. I read things back to myself. I talk myself through things. And I always try to picture the story like I'm in it. Because for me, it has to be logical. What would I logically do next if I was this character? And that's just sort of my approach. If it doesn't work for you, hey, that's fine. This is what works for me. And if it helps anybody, woo. And if not, hey, that's fine. Somebody else will help you. But hopefully, people at least can relate a little bit to where I'm coming from. So, what I'm thinking here, I don't know if pent up is hyphenated. I'll look it up later. Um, I'm thinking that Laureen isn't somebody who screams back at her sister often. She has to be pushed to that point. So when she screams like that, it probably scares her and scares her sister as well, right? Because there has to be a catalyst to get her sister out of bed, out of the room, to come to the market with her. And she's not gonna just, she's doing this power play thing. She thinks she can get Lorene to go without her. She's playing a little game. So there's got to be something that pushes her. So I had this thing like, well, what if Lorene is normally kind of a quiet girl? She screams, her sister's like, okay, all right, fine. You mean business. It's fine, right? That's what I'm trying to convey. See, I'm kind of giving exposition with, right? Just kinda sneaking in the fact that their mother has been away for 2 weeks. This is why they have to go to the market because after 2 weeks, you're out of stuff. You gotta go, right? That might be a little too literal, and I might change that later. Right. So, hopefully, I'm conveying the dynamic here, right? Sybil is bossy, Laureen is more passive. She's kind of pushed to the brink. She screams. Her sister's like, "Fine, she means business." And now she's shown up and she's putting her boots on. I I I chose tugging to make it seem a little like attitudey, right? She's not happy. Like, I'm coming to the market with you, but I don't want to. So I'm going to be a brat, right? I want this to be clear how these sisters interact. This is their normal interaction on a normal day. tug of war, kind of at each other's throats a little bit, love, hate, love, hate kind of sibling thing going on. Now I'm thinking, so now I'm thinking, all right, I have to read that. Maureen rolled her eyes. She should have known her sister would pull something like this. Come on, she screamed. It was louder than she intended. A mix of pent up frustration and anger that had been brewing for the 2 weeks. I feel like this is hyphenated. A mix of pent up frustration and anger that had been brewing for the 2 weeks their mom had been away. She startled herself with the intensity. It had the same effect on Sybil, who emerged from the room. Fine, was all she said as she pushed past Lorene and tugged on her worn leather boots. Because I just had this like visual that she says, fine. She storms out of the room and she does one of those things where she like hits her her sister with her shoulder, like just pushes past her and like protestily tugs on her boots. And then I was thinking like I was gonna say old leather boots, but I feel like worn because not necessarily old, even though they are old, it's just that they're well worn. They weren't replaced, right, when they should have been. So worn just felt like the right word for me. But like I said, this is a rough draft and all of this will probably change later. I'm just trying to get the like skeleton down. I used to be really bad at this where I would constantly rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. And now I just kind of like force myself to go and then just come back and edit later because I just want to get the skeleton down. Okay, so this is what I'm picturing. And if you have a sibling or if you've ever been with somebody who's emotional and pouty, I'm thinking like this. I'm picturing that I'm walking to the market with a moody, emotional person, and she's like, like just being like, not necessarily saying anything, but just like making noises and, you know, lagging behind and just like protesting sort of silently ish. Right? Not saying, "I can't believe you made me come with you, this sucks," but more like, that kind of attitude. So that's what I really wanna convey because it's a silent walk, they're not speaking, but it's not a quiet walk because Sybil is protesting, right? She does not wanna be doing this. Plus, she's mad, right? That she lost the battle that, she was trying to kind of win, but now she's on her way to the market. This is not a thing she wants to be doing. So she's gonna like be annoying, right? They need something, right? Laureen would be the one carrying the basket. This is what I'm thinking. Sybil's not going to be helping at all. She's going to be a pain in the rear end as much as humanly possible. So Lorene is going to be the one with the basket, and Sybil is going to be like lagging behind. This is just my Oops. I know, I type too fast sometimes. All right. The walk to the square was largely silent. Lorene carried a large wicker basket over one arm while Sybil lagged behind. Ooh, I wrote large twice. Um, I know from working with editors that you're not supposed to repeat like that. So, large and largely. So the walk to the square was mostly silent. I don't really like that, but we'll put it in there for now. So Laureen has the basket. She's carrying it over one arm. Sybil is lagging behind. She's kicking up rocks and dirt. And she's sighing dramatically because this is what my sister would do.
Oh, I have a writing question.
Sure.
Since you're like channeling your sister while you're writing, is it kind of like therapeutic in a way?
Um,
Because
if it was if it was therapeutic, I would push my sister off a cliff. Um, no, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm not feeling it that way. I'm more like interested in it just feeling authentic. And the my sister, IRL, right? If this was me and my sister and we were in this situation, I'm talking about my older sister, and we were in this particular situation, she would have stormed off a long time ago, or she would just like plop down on a rock and she would just stay there, right? There would not be this like give and take. But what I'm channeling is sort of the feeling, that like frustration, that like, come on, just be a freaking adult and walk to the damn market, right? Is that therapeutic? I don't know. I think it's just, for me anyway, it's just trying to make this relatable. And maybe this isn't relatable to other people. Maybe other people, maybe other people read this and go, gosh, me and my sister would never be like that. She'd help me carry the basket. We'd each have one hand on the handle and we would skip and we'd have matching bows in our hair. Like, hey, if that's your experience, you write that. My experience was not that. My sister my sister is not the agreeable type. So, you know, write what you know. And I know a sister who is very frustrating, and I'm able to channel that into this because this is what I want for this. And this isn't exactly right. In my relationship with my IRL sister, I would not invite her to go to the market with. I would go by myself. I would hire somebody to go to the market. I would grab a stranger off the street. My sister would be the last person I would invite to the market with me. The last one. I would not go to the market with my sister unless I absolutely had no other choice, right? But it doesn't have to be 100%, realistic. It just has to, there's just something there that I can pull from, so I am, right? I'm not doing this for therapy. I'm not doing this to like heal. I'm totally at peace with who my sister is. I've known her my entire life, right? So it's not that so much as just being able, just I'm lucky enough to have an experience that I can pull from so that I can channel it into this and hopefully make it feel authentic. And if somebody reads this and says, that dynamic between those sisters, it just doesn't feel right to me, I would revisit it, right?
right. Yeah, I think it's really cool that you're able to pull from personal experience Because I've listened to a lot of your stories, and you've always like written really good dialogue. It really does feel real, like two people like having a conversation that you can see them having in real life.
Yeah, that's what I try to do. So I think that comes from my background in theater. When I was in the theater, back when I was in college, I had this one director, and he would say, really talk, really listen, like sit there and have a real conversation. And I think that that reads better, right? Because some people, they memorize their lines and they just recite words, and they're not actually talking to anybody, and they don't actually understand what's in the script, right? Or why their character is saying those words. I even remember like sometimes we would be like doing a scene, and then someone would say to the director, "My character would never say this." And then the director would say, "But they clearly did because it's in the script. So they did say it. Maybe you don't know your character as well as you think you do because your character did say that and you need to figure out why." Right? And I think dialogue is very important when you speak in real life. It's because you want something from the other person. You either want to convey information, or you want information from them, or you want some kind of reaction, or you want some kind of understanding. You're not speaking unless you have a reason to speak. You have an agenda, or you wouldn't be speaking, right? And so I always keep that in mind when I'm writing. This has to be what these people would really say. One of the things that bothers me about, because I've read a lot of things that other people have written, and I give a lot of advice, and I critique a lot of other people's writing. And one of the things that really bothers me is when the dialogue is so forced and unnatural. I hate it. So I work really hard on that. Like they'll need exposition. So the person will just be like, "Yeah, my uncle Tim was in the war. He had PTS." Like, let me just tell you 5 minutes of exposition because I don't know where else to put it. I hate that. I hate that. So yeah, I'm always trying to like, what would I say if this was me and I said this? If that was her and she said that, how would I respond? So that's what I'm always trying to do. All right, so they're at the produce stall. Um, okay. I had a train of thought and I've kind of lost it a little bit. Okay, so I get it, Lorraine snapped. You didn't want to come. You can stop with the histrionics. Yeah, the histrionics. But Sybil only sighed louder. And see, in my mind, that's how these people interact. By the time they reach the produce stall, Lorraine's patience had worn thin. All right. So they're trudging to the market. Lorene is pissed. Sybil's being a brat. You get it, right? I don't think we need to beat people over the head with it any more than this. So now we're going to move on to like the task at hand. We are in the market and we are here for marketing purposes. Okay, okay, I got it. I'm thinking back in those days that flour came in like big, like burlap sacks, or maybe small or medium, like like not a paper bag like we have, but I think it would come in like like a burlap bag is what I'm thinking. And so I think Maureen is over her sister and she's just like, you know what? I'll get the apples, you go get the flour, like get out of my sight, go away, make yourself useful kind of thing at this point, right?
Alright, real quick, you have two two more chat messages.
All right, I'm ready.
I feel like sighing oh my god, I can't speak. I feel like sighing dramatically is the correct response to being drugged to the market. And I have a younger sister. I don't think she's allowed in the market.
She's not allowed in your sister has been banned from the market. Maybe my sister has too. I don't even know. Where do you find a list of people who are banned from the market? If your sister's on that list, I guarantee mine's on there too. I'll have to check. You know how they have like America's most wanted and they maybe there's like America's most banned le least desired in the market and maybe our sisters are on there. Hmm. My sister and your sister could go to the market together. That's a whole different story. All right. So Lorene, I left out a whole verb because I was speaking. All right. All right, here we go, guys. Maureen tied a scarf around her head and pulled on her heavy wool cloak. Where was her sister? They were supposed to head to the market together. With mother away, there was much to tend to, and she couldn't do it all by herself. Sybil, she called to their small bedroom in the back of the cottage. It was little more than a corner separated with a handmade quilt, but it was theirs, and they had shared it their entire life. Go without me, came the reply. Lorene rolled her eyes. She should have known her sister would pull something like this. Come on, she screamed. It was louder than she intended. A mixture of pent-up frustration and anger that had been brewing for the 2 weeks their mom had been away. She startled herself with the intensity. It had the same effect on Sybil, who emerged from the room. Fine, was all she said as she pushed past Lorene and tugged on her worn leather boots. The walk to the square was mostly silent. Laureen carried a large wicker basket over one arm, while Sybil lagged behind, kicking up rocks and dirt and sighing dramatically. I get it, Laureen snapped. You didn't want to come. You can stop with the histrionics. But Sybil only sighed louder. By the time they reached the produce stall, Laureen's patience had worn thin. You could at least get a sack of flour or something. Right, make yourself useful. No, you're doing a fine job. I'd just mess it up, Sybil grinned. Lorene turned back to the fruit. Yeah, okay. I think that conveys, I mean, tell me what you're getting from it, impartial chat helper.
Yeah, it's a lot. I feel like a lot of like a tension between these two. Like I think their mom being away for quite a while, and they're just like two of them like left alone. 'Cause I was saying earlier, Sybil is a more like high strong, and like the other one is more moody. And I think after a while, just being like left alone, they would like kind of like rub each other the wrong way. So I'm getting that.
All right. So this is what my sister would do. My this is 100% not therapeutic, but just bringing some realism in. Um, I really don't know medieval last names. I will look up some later, but for now, she's Mrs. Moreland. All right. So this is how my sister is. She's very gossipy. If my sister was at the market with me and she didn't want to help me with fruit and she didn't want to go get the flour, what she would be doing is looking around at the people in the market and she would be judging them harshly. And she would be looking for some kind of drama or gossip because it's how she is. And so I had this vision that Maureen is by the fruit and she's picking out the apples and oranges and such. And her sister is looking around like at what people are wearing and what people are doing and that kind of thing. And then I'm thinking, in medieval times, what would be a scandal? Maybe something like a woman in the market with a man that's not her husband. And so that's what I was thinking. Um, that kind of thing. And this is how I would respond. And this is exactly, I would scold my sister like a child, and I would say, don't go making up rumors. That could just be like her nephew from Iowa or something, right? Or her cousin. They could be anybody, right? And then this is what my sister would do. She would play innocent. She would be like, me? I would never make up a rumor. Just making casual observation. What? Right? Okay, so, right. I just I always read these things back because it gives me a feel for pacing. By the time they reached the produce stall, Irene's patience had worn thin. You could at least get a sack of flour or something. No, you're doing a fine job. I'd just mess it up, Sybil grinned. Lorene turned back to the fruit. Look, Sybil said, pointing. Isn't that Mrs. Moreland? Lorene glanced. Yeah, so? So, Sybil laughed. That isn't Mr. Moreland. Maybe it's her nephew or her cousin or something. Lorene turned toward her sister. Don't go making up rumors. Me? All right. Just go with me here. I'm going to interject a little narratoriness just to break it up so that it's not just bickering because I feel like we've had enough. You know what I mean? It's just a like it's just a feel that I have like, okay, if this keeps going on, it's just going to be like monotonous or just like repetitive. And so I'm just going to like do a little narrator and we're just going to kind of bump it forward. Like we get it, right? I don't need to beat you over the head with this anymore, right? All right. So I'm just trying to be a little ominous here. It was an ordinary exchange on an ordinary day until it wasn't. Right? Boom. Now we're moving forward. I'm thinking that this is the perfect place to insert the witch, right? This is like the moment that everything sort of changes. They're going about their day, they're bickering, they're being sisters, they're being petty, they're, being childish, back and forth. And then, boom, right? All of a sudden, the world blows up, right? This is that moment that turns the day from this ordinary sibling rivalry day into like this changes everything. That's why the story is taking place today and not yesterday and not tomorrow. It's because today is the day. So this is the event, right? And I really do. I really think she just kind of sneaks up on them. I think Rosa Moon has just been observing them from the corner of the market. She saw their interaction. She noticed that skin color, she noticed the eye color. She knows what she's been looking for, right? I mean, they have the condition that she has, that she lives. She knows what it is. So as soon as she saw it, she knew. And I think she's just been waiting for her moment to kind of approach them. And I think that's it. Like they're bickering. She's like, "Hi." Yeah, I think she'd be friendly. This is how I feel about Charlize Theron. Like, I'm completely straight, right? But Charlize Theron is so pretty. And I I saw her in a movie many years ago, and I was just like, "Wow, that woman is so pretty." Like, I had to look twice, like, "Wow." Like, right? So that's what I'm channeling here. A voice came from behind them. Both girls turned. A woman stood smiling. Her beauty was striking, the kind that makes you look twice. Mm. All right. So we need to figure out, right? If you're going to make a sentence like that, her beauty was striking, the kind that makes you look twice. There's just got to be something about her to back up that claim. And this is something I learned in high school when we would write essays. The teacher would say, if you're going to make a claim, you better give me two or three sentences to support that claim. You can't just say, this person was X without proving it to me, right? You don't want to deal in opinions. You want to prove your statements, right? And I still remember that. So if I'm going to say that her beauty was striking and that you had to look twice at this woman, there has to be a reason why. All right. All right. All right. I wasn't sure if I want to say unusual or unique, but I guess, like I said, I just need to get it out and I can always edit it later. So I'm just thinking if Rosa Moon is a sorceress, and she has magic, and I think she would just have like I think she would make her own clothes. I really do. And if she doesn't make them, maybe she hires somebody to make them, but I think it's important to her to be seen as unique or different or special. So I think she would be wearing something unusual, and for some reason in my mind I see her in this dress that has like these long bell sleeves and it's very flowy, but it's not like traditionally like one color. I see it as kind of like, oh, it's just a thought I had. I might change it later, but I'm thinking like black on one side, white on the other, just like very unusual, something that like stands out in your mind when you see it, right? I don't know. I'm not good with similes and metaphors. I always have to go back and put them in later. And I was thinking about something like it flowing down her back, like, uh, you know, liquid or water. I don't know. I can't think of anything at the moment, but I promise you I will Google similes later and put some in where appropriate. I know I'm really bad at this. I know.
Oh, real quick, you have a writing question.
All right.
and also someone that he agrees with you, but Charlize Theron. Um, do you think about music when you are writing? Like, would there be a score, a soundtrack? Would you go with the Witcher style score or more modern music to contrast with the fairy tale aesthetic?
That is a very interesting question. So I I have um interesting taste in music, I guess. I grew up largely without music. I lived with not parents. I didn't grow up with parents, but I did have guardians, and they were very strict people, and we didn't listen to a lot of modern music. My male guardian was very into church hymns, and he liked this band called the Beach Boys, this old band from like the 50s. And so I knew a lot of those things. He was also Irish, and so I knew a lot of Irish folk songs. I know this sounds really crazy, but he had a friend that was in a barbershop quartet, and we went to see him sing, and so I only knew those kinds of songs. The female guardian, she liked Elvis Presley. And so I knew a handful of Elvis songs. I knew a bunch of church hymns. I knew a bunch of Irish folk songs. And I knew everything that the Beach Boys ever sang. I promise you, we had every version of every song forever. But when I got older and I had no musical knowledge, I didn't have the same musical database that my peers had. They would sing songs. I had no idea what they were talking about. They would talk about like different videos. I would have no clue what that was. Um, I had no idea. And then I discovered a song on the radio, and you can all make fun of me. It is totally fine because it was complete culture shock for me because I went from ba 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 baran to love is like a bomb, baby, come and get it. It was pour some sugar on me. From Def Leppard. That was like the first song I heard, and it was old, that it wasn't even, like, popular. This was, like, years after the song had been a hit, but my sister, the one from the market that we've been talking about, um, she she found it somewhere and was playing it, and it was like, "What the heck is that?" And I loved it, and she's like, "This is glam rock from the '80s," or whatever. And I went down this rabbit hole of listening to all the '80s glam rock that I could find, and I loved it so much. Don't ask me why. There's something about the sound of an electric guitar. There's something about the, like, angst and the energy and, like, that I love, even the aesthetic with the long hair and the, like, ridiculous outfits. I love watching old glam rock videos on, like, YouTube and stuff. I kid you not, I love this stuff, and I know it's cheesy. I don't care. That is what is in my head most of the time. It really is like AC/DC, Back in Black is just totally, like, my song, and so I guess it really would be that. I don't like jazz music. I think it sounds like a headache. I think it sounds like a woman being strangled. I just cannot stand it. There was a guy in college that I didn't date because he liked jazz music, and I was like, I could never date a guy who listens to jazz. It would drive me up a wall. I don't like instrumental music, like, when you're in doctor's office and it's like just the like doo 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 with no words. I cannot stand that. There are some sounds that just like hit my head like really weird and it just irritates me. Anything by The Doors. I don't like The Beatles. I don't like Hotel California. These are just some songs that when I hear them, I have like a physical like reaction to them. So I don't know. I don't know if it's because I wasn't exposed to a large variety of music at a young age, but I am stuck in this very specific, very limited genre of music that I like, and that would be 80s glam rock. And occasionally I will hear a song that I like that's a completely different, like I like some songs by Zach Brown, and I like one song by Kenny Chesney, and every now and then I'll just hear a song and be like, "Ooh, I don't know who sings it. I don't know what year it's from, but I'll just like the song." So, yeah, I know. But that's my experience with music. So it would be AC/DC. It's always AC/DC. And if I'm driving and you are in the passenger seat and AC/DC comes on the radio, you better not speak or you will be ejected from the vehicle. But we all have to have rules for safe driving.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair. Safety while driving is very important.
Yeah, I will say, are you Brian Johnson? Because if you're not, I don't want to hear you right now.
There two chat comments. One I missed a little earlier. Def Leppard and other 80s music is still crazy popular.
It's is it? Is it popular? Are the kids finding it? Because okay, I just now was exposed to this show called Stranger Things, and it takes place in the 80s, right? And I have heard that this show has brought back some of the 80s songs that I love. So if Def Leppard is crazy popular, then woo, go me. I love it. There was I don't want to go into how much I love Def Leppard, but there was this song that so I used to wait tables poorly. I am ill coordinated. I cannot ice skate. I cannot roller skate. I cannot do things that require large amounts of physical coordination. It is just a thing that I lack. And waitressing was very difficult for me because you have to carry heavy objects on little circles, right? They give you like a tray and they put heavy hot things on it, and you've got to carry it out to like a table while you're like carrying a wooden tray on the other arm, like a wooden stand on the other arm. And then you like magically put the stand down and then whip the tray around. I can't do that. And I learned that, but there was a song on the jukebox, and it was a Def Leppard song, and it was called Two Steps Behind. And it was playing on the jukebox, and I had this giant tray. It was an oval tray, and it had four bowls of hot soup with crackers and napkins and spoons. And this woman says to me, I need you to carry this tray of four bowls of soup and put it by table, I don't know, 32 or whatever. I'll walk ahead of you and put down the tray stand, and then you just put the tray on the stand. That's all you have to do. So I carried it, one hand on each side, walking really, really slow. I see the stand and it's placed, and I'm like, great. All I have to do is set down this tray. I walk really slow. I'm very careful. I'm not spilling any soup. I put the tray down. I let go of it, and I'm like, woohoo, I did it. A guy at the next table backed his chair into it. The soup flew everywhere. The tray stand, like the dishes clattered to the ground. They all shattered. And Def Leppard goes on the radio. Two steps behind comes on the jukebox. And so I associate Def Leppard with my career as a waitress crashing and burning. So,
Oh.
yes. I know that wasn't the question, but it is what you made me think of. Chatter, sir, ma'am. Thank you.
Oh. There's two more. They still sell out arenas, and they played Master of Puppets by Metallica on the show, and it was a huge deal.
Oh, so okay, I can't go on the Metallica thing because I love some old Metallica, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and Master of Puppets. Those are right. Those are just such great songs, and yeah. I'm so glad that the show brought that back because I've only just gotten through season one, so I am very far behind. I don't always watch the things that are contemporary or popular at the time. I kind of find them later. So I actually found this show while it's still on the air, but I'm like 4 years behind. So I haven't gotten to the Master of Puppets episode yet. But that's a great album and it's a great song. And I'm glad it's on there. Ride the Lightning. All right. All right, so where were we? The voice came from behind them. Oh, yes. All right, so this is my vision, right? It was an ordinary day, and then it wasn't. Boom, now we're catapulted into the next. Because I just didn't want to I felt like one page of like this dynamic was kind of enough. Just like, I don't know, you get a feel for pacing, and that's why I read things back. And so now they're there. My idea is she just like comes up to them. I guess what I'm envisioning is they see this woman. She's very unusual. She's very pretty. She's got silver hair. She's got the gray eyes. It's a very odd dress. And that is the last thing they remember. And then they wake up in her house. I guess that's just sort of what I'm thinking. I don't know what truck outside is making that noise. If you can hear it, I apologize. So this is what I'm thinking. Um, she looked at them with pale gray eyes touched with lavender, not a color you see. I was going to say not a color you see every day, but then I don't know, I kind of like this pacing with the she looked at them with pale gray eyes touched with lavender, not a color you see often or ever, right? I think it still has that sort of narratory vibe. And it kind of has like a rhythm I like. Now, I know I said you're not supposed to repeat. But I don't know, I kind of liked and those lavender eyes were the last thing they remembered until they woke in an unfamiliar bed in an unfamiliar cottage, surrounded by unfamiliar furniture. That's, I don't know. It's what I'm working with in my mind. Ooh, it's already past 9:30. I am so sorry. I barely wrote 2 pages. Oh, I suck at this. All right, let's read what we have and let's get a feel for the pacing and then we'll end and then I'll write more and then maybe we'll pick up like at the end of the chapter, like, like the battle between them and Rosa Moon because I'm realizing now that if I try to talk and write, I'm not just like how I can't ice skate and I can't walk and chew gum and I can't like walk and drink Diet Coke. I also apparently cannot talk and write. So I'm blaming this on being from the north. All right. The Alchemist Queens. Philosophers say fate leads the willing and drags along the reluctant. The dreamers insist the universe conspires to help us reach our purpose. Maybe destiny is neither force nor kindness, but a whisper that waits for the right moment to be heard. You may ignore it, resist it, even curse it under your breath, but destiny can find you when you least expect it. The day began as ordinary days do. There was nothing remarkable about the sunrise. The fall air held the regular amount of crispness. Breakfast was the usual chunk of dry bread and a boiled egg. That's the problem with routine days. They create the illusion that all days will be predictable and familiar. So when something extraordinary happens, it takes you completely by surprise. Lorene tied a scarf around her head and pulled on her heavy wool cloak. Where was her sister? They were supposed to head to the market together. With mother away, there was much to tend to, and she couldn't do it all by herself. Sybil! She called to their small bedroom in the back of the cottage. It was little more than a corner separated with a handmade quilt, but it was theirs, and they had shared it their entire life. Go without me, came the reply. Lorene rolled her eyes. She should have known her sister would pull something like this. Come on, she screamed. It was louder than she intended, a mixture of pent-up frustration and anger that had been brewing for the 2 weeks their mother had been away. She startled herself with the intensity. It had the same effect on Sybil, who emerged from the room. Fine, was all she said as she pushed past her sister and tugged on her worn leather boots. The walk to the square was mostly silent. Lorene carried a large wicker basket over one arm, and Sybil lagged behind, kicking up rocks and dirt and sighing dramatically. I get it, Lorene snapped. You didn't want to come. You can stop with the histrionics. But Sybil only sighed louder. By the time they reached the produce stall, Lorene's patience had worn thin. You could at least get a sack of flour or something. No, you're doing a fine job. I'd just mess it up. Sybil grinned. Lorene turned back to the fruit. Look, Sybil said, pointing. Isn't that Mrs. Morland? Lorene glanced. Yeah, so? So, Sybil laughed. That isn't Mr. Morland. Maybe it's her nephew or a cousin or something. Lorene turned toward her sister. Don't go making up rumors. Me? It was an ordinary exchange on an ordinary day. Until it wasn't. Hello there. A voice came from behind them. Both girls turned. A woman stood smiling. Her beauty was striking, the kind that makes you look twice. She was wearing an unusual gown, split right down the center, black on one side and white on the other. A hooded cloak hung gracefully from her shoulders. She looked at them with pale gray eyes touched with lavender. Not a color you see often, or ever. And those lavender eyes were the last thing they remembered until they woke in an unfamiliar bed, in an unfamiliar cottage, surrounded by unfamiliar furniture. Okay, all right. I'm feeling that. So where I'm going to go from here, because I'm an outliner, I'm a person who likes to know where I'm going. If you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there, but I know where I'm going. So they're going to wake in this room. They're going to be very confused, have no idea how they got there, have no idea where they are. They're not going to be able to get out of this room. Okay, they'll be able to get out of the room. They won't be able to get out of the cottage. Maybe there's no door. That's what I'm thinking. There's windows, and it's huge. It's like a grand place. And since Rosa Moon is a sorceress and she's very powerful, I'm guessing she has a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff, right? Because she feels poor inside. She's going to surround herself with opulence to make herself feel like less of a peasant, less of a poor person. So I'm envisioning this big house with floor to ceiling stained glass windows, high ceilings, dark wood beams, floor to ceiling like built-in bookshelves with lots of books, thick carpet. I know like red dye was expensive. So maybe like the carpet is like dyed red, maybe gold, because that's like opulent. And we know she's an alchemist or she's trying to be an alchemist, right? So they're gonna wait. They're gonna find the tree. Rosa Moon's a witch, so she's gonna have a familiar. So there's probably gonna be a cat there. Maybe we could do like a little jump scare type moment where they hear a noise and it turns out to be this cat. Maybe they have sort of a love-hate relationship with the cat. Maybe the cat likes Lorene and doesn't like Sybil because you know how cats are like finicky about people like that. And then when Sybil turns the cat into gold, it's kind of like a little petty revenge moment. So this is what I'm picturing. And so That is what I will write. And then we'll segue to Rosa Moon returning to the cottage, finding the girls asleep, thinking that she's won, starting to brew the potion, and then we'll have like sort of this battle between them, and it'll end with them doing the alchemy's magic and turning like literally everything in this cottage to gold. So that's the plan, that's the path. When I get this chapter finished, I can record it and maybe put it on the channel. Um, if I can learn to be less of a chatterbox, maybe we can write more of this together, like maybe the end, and then kind of read the whole chapter and just kind of get a feel for it. So that's the goal. What do you think?
I think that sounds like a excellent goal, an excellent plan.
Yeah, I thought I would be further along than this. I am a slow writer. I've said this before. I overthink everything. I'm constantly like, how will this be perceived? How does this sound? If I was the reader, what would I be thinking right now? And so it kind of prohibits me, it kind of holds me back a little bit. I know some people can just like write and write and write, just like stream of consciousness kind of stuff, but I'm such a thinker. What do you think so far? I mean, do you remember this story?
I do. Oh god, was it like is it like a year? It was like one of like not necessarily like early, but it was like earlier. Well,
Mm,
I always thought of the concept was really cool and right, and they like the alchemy and the right and the sisters and it's kind of like that revenge
right.
stories can be very satisfying.
Yeah, I liked the idea that the secret ingredient was within her the entire time and she couldn't access it. The one thing that she needs to fulfill her one and only dream, her one and only goal, the thing to achieve greatness runs through her veins and she cannot tap into it. And in order to get the spell to work, she needs to find another human being with her same very rare condition. And where the heck is she going to find one of those? Like, they're rare for a reason. And then, like, your luck has changed. There it is, right? You've been looking for this thing your entire life. It's like the fountain of youth, and you finally find it. You're like, oh my gosh, the fountain of youth. Woo, right? Like, it would just be achieving your wildest dream and how amazing that would be and how exciting it would be. And then, like, then you drown in the fountain, right? Like that kind of thing. That was like poetic justice, I guess. But more than that, I wanted like her story and the twin story to kind of mirror each other. These like powerful women with these rare conditions that would be like bullied and ostracized and mistreated because they don't look like everybody else and they're weird, and she's eccentric and that kind of vibe. And so then they take her dream and make it theirs and they live her dream and she, dies trying to pursue it. So I really liked, I'm not a happy ending kind of girl. I never have been. I just think that's really boring. Meet a prince and live happily ever after is just not my cup of tea. But this like tragic, like you finally find the answer, you finally find the thing, and then it's taken all away. Like, so thank you for watching for anybody who watched. I know, I apologize for being such a talker. Next time I will try to be more focused on writing. It's really harder to do than I thought it would be. And I was really nervous. I have never streamed myself writing on YouTube. before, and I thought, what the heck, right? Why not like create together? Like, why not share the process? Why not show people what I do? That kind of thing. So it was an experiment. I do not know how well received this will be, but if I get a lot of thumbs down, I just won't do it again. So if you liked it, please thumbs up. If not, it's okay. If you hate it, that is totally fine. You can tell me you hate me. That's still engagement. That's and YouTube will still be happy with that. So, not everyone's gonna like you, right? So, but anyway, thank you so much for watching. I have a question that you might know the answer to.
Hmm.
How do I end? How do I
Oh.
stop?
um. Uh. So you're using OBS, right?
I've got this swirly thing in the bottom that kind of looks like a hubcap.
That might be it. I also Chatter says being a talker makes a good stream.
Well, I appreciate that very much. I do. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to my chat helper for reading me the chat. And yeah, I will write more of this. Maybe I'll come back and share the writing of the end. And then I see that. I see
Oh,
it.
you see the chat.
Yes. Scream. Okay, I can't see the whole thing. I just see scream, suck it, and
Turn your PC off.
see. Uh, I don't think I can do that. Like, I think that's against like, right? Like, isn't there like a politeness thing on YouTube? Like, I don't think you're allowed to just.
It's just
I don't think you're allowed to just like yell things like that and run away. I don't think. I mean, maybe, but
um, hey, maybe someone somewhere is doing that.
no. But I fully intend. Um, hopefully the chatter can hear me. Do you like this series? Do you like the idea? I mean, you saw what I wrote. I know it wasn't a lot, but just like feedback, maybe. I never get feedback from my writing. I give so much feedback. I get so little. I get the occasional I like it or I liked it, but like it doesn't really help, I guess. It doesn't feel constructive. And I have paid for editing services before, but generally they talk about like structure, not idea, not concept, not plot, not character, those kinds of things. I shouldn't be allowed in the market for safety reasons? What? Why didn't you read that chat?
um, it was I think it's one of those things that I was.
I shouldn't be allowed in the market because I would injure myself? Is that what you're saying? Wow, chatter. Yeah, it's good. Thank you for that very helpful comment of it's good. Yeah, I liked the irony of the idea that you are the secret ingredient, but that you can't access it for yourself? So,
Sorry, I think the chat's a little delayed for you. I can read you
oh yes,
more.
please, please.
Alright, so this too. It's you. This is different than just a story. You should keep at it. And yes, you drop and spill things.
That was one time, one isolated incident that I think we can agree was incited by Def Leppard and not my fault at all. No, the guy I put the tray down. And I was so proud of myself because I did it, and, like, this was something I was really bad at, and this was a huge, like, oval tray with 4 bowls of soup on it, and I put it down, and there was, like, this moment of, like, "I did it," and then he backed his chair into it, and it was almost like slow motion. It was like I saw it happening, and I couldn't stop it, and then just the crash. It was, like, deafening, and then the music comes on, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is the soundtrack to my demise."
Uh, what was the song title again?
It was Def Leppard, Two Steps Behind, I think is the name of the song.
Hmm.
It was slow, like a slower, like, power ballad, and yeah, it started playing, like, the soup all crashed to the floor, those dishes just shattered, and it was this and then the song came on, like so that's what I thought of when you asked about the soundtrack or thinking about music. It's like, I remember that moment, and I remember Def Leppard, singing my demise as I watched my career shatter on the ground. Alright, I'm going to end. Thank you so much. I'm not going to take the chatter's, advice and yell anything, and, alright, thanks.